All right, so Unit 1, Lesson 2, evaluate and simplify algebraic expressions. So a lot of times the objectives are going to mirror what the title of the lesson actually is. We are going to evaluate and simplify our expressions involving real numbers. And really what you need for this is a good understanding of the order of operations. So a quick review of expressions. A numerical expression in this definition talks about it consisting of numbers, operations, and grouping symbols. Grouping symbols are generally going to be parentheses for our purposes. An expression performed by repeated multiplication of the same factor is called a power. And your understanding of powers is going to get developed and advanced in this course, but later on, in a later unit. So on the right is kind of an example of a power. Okay, we call 7 to the third a power, or 7 cubed. 7 is the base, 3 is the exponent. That means we multiply 7 with 3 factors of 7. That doesn't mean multiply 3 times. It means 3 factors of 7. All right? So just an understanding of an exponent and a base. So our first example, example 1 here, asks us to evaluate an algebraic expression. So in this expression, we are taking y, and I'm giving you a value for y, -5. So for me to evaluate this, I'm going to substitute -5 everywhere I see y. And then I'm going to use my order of operations to simplify that. So for me to write this out, write it out as -6 times -5 squared minus 11 times -5 plus 34, all right? So now that I've got a numerical expression with just numbers and operations in parentheses, I can simplify that. And if I'm going to listen to order of operations, that means I am going to do that exponent first, okay? Evaluate that power first. So this would look like -6 times 25 minus 11 times -5 plus 34. I'm going to clean that -5 up a little bit. So to further simplify this, next thing on my list would be either multiplication or division, left to right. So I'm going to simplify these multiplications right here. So -6 times 25 is -150, and I treat this like -11, so I think -11 times -5 is positive 55. So plus 55 plus 34. And from then on out, I can just add these 3 together, all right? So -150 plus 55 is going to be -95 plus 34. Looks kind of like a 4. -95 plus 34 ends up being -61. And that's my simplified expression. I evaluated that expression, okay? So this is kind of like review, so hopefully you can do the guided practice. These 2 problems right here, try those on your own and pause the video as you work through those in your notes, all right? And then once you're ready, start the video back up and I will go through the examples. I'm going to go through them pretty quick though, so be ready for me to kind of explain through it quickly. So guided practice number 1 here. 3a minus 16 when a is 7. So that just means I take where I see a, I substitute in 7. So this becomes 3 times 7 minus 16. So 3 times 7 I would do first is 21 minus 16. 21 minus 16 is 5. All right, and that's simplified. That was a pretty simple one to go through. That's evaluated completely. So that substitution, what I like to do is whenever I substitute, you're going to notice I put in parentheses around the value I'm substituting in. Okay, next guided practice problem. Evaluating this expression when y is equal to 3. So I'm substituting both y's out here, and it's noticing that it's 2, this is 2 times 3 squared times 3 minus 10, okay? So when we think back to order of operations, that first thing we always handle, if we can, is parentheses. So I'd really handle 3 minus 10 first. So this stays 2 times 3 squared. I'm going to leave that alone for now. And I'm going to do 3 minus 10, which is negative 7. From there, I would do the exponent. I would evaluate that power. 2 times 9 times negative 7. And from there, 2 times 9 is 18. This is going to be a little weird looking at the end. 18 times negative 7. I can use a calculator for that. I mean, a lot of these expressions that we're going to evaluate later on are going to be using bigger numbers. So we can use calculators on that. Don't feel like you can't use a calculator on stuff like this. This becomes negative 126, and that is evaluated. So I feel like that's a pretty good place to stop and have you move on to the next step in your lesson. Now, the idea is those next steps are usually a check of your understanding. So make sure that you're going through this carefully, make sure you're understanding, and make sure that you are, most importantly, asking questions of me before you move on if you're not sure of something. So you can move on to the next step in your lesson.